This is Colin Dijs, and in this video I will show you how to make money with native advertising. I have my custom strategies, and with these strategies we help affiliates, offer owners, agency owners to scale their business to beyond 7 figures a month, that is. Obviously, by creating this series, we have spent millions of dollars running campaigns, and it basically comes down to 3 simple steps. The first one is testing, which I will discuss in this video. In the next video, we talk about optimization, and in the last video, we talk about scaling. Testing and optimization will definitely be the biggest part of the job. Scaling will be very easy, less than 5% of the job. What is important to consider, as this is a very different traffic source than what you usually experience, native advertising is on news published websites. So I will take, for example, CNN.com. I turned off my ad blocker already for this site. I open an article, and inside the article on the sidelines you have display ads. So that is not what this is. Display ads, but we need to scroll to the bottom, and then probably in here somewhere we'll find some ads. So this is a native ad. This is a native ad. So as you can see, it blends in with the content. That's why it's called native ads. And here you have more native ads. You just saw a thingy which says sponsored by Outbrain, which is basically paid content blended in with normal content. In the scenario where we're going to talk about testing, which we will discuss today, there are quite some important elements you need to understand in order to test properly. What we're trying to do is we're trying to spend the least amount of money and get the best results. You always have a recuperation period. So the initial investment has to be made, and then we recoup that investment. It is extremely unlikely that a campaign will be profitable from the start. We work with 2 components on native ads. We work with the creatives in the testing phase, and we work with the placements. So the creatives are 2 elements. It is headline most often, and it includes a image, right? And the placements are the widgets, right, where the traffic is coming from, the websites that you're purchasing from. So this all happens inside the platform you're using: MGID, Nativo, Taboola, Outbrain, Ref Content, and there are many, many more. Whatever you decide in terms of what to do and how to do it, it doesn't necessarily matter. Of course it matters, but for this example on actually how to do the exact setup, which I will show you in this video, I'm going to just go over the global theory, and then on what offers to run, how to run them, that is for a different video, right? So the real question is, what do you do in terms of headline, images, widgets? What is important? Well, let's start off with the most easy one, which is the widgets. We have to consider either to apply a white or a blacklist, right? Very important. Oh, there's a K missing. So we either apply a whitelist to get a list of pre-selected placements that is proven to convert, which basically means a list by the traffic source where they know in your specific vertical they might convert well. For example, the Nutra vertical. If we take the Nutra vertical, for example, hair loss and weight loss are in the same vertical, but they are a very different audience. So it doesn't mean that you will get a lot of conversions. It is just excluding or at least prehistoric data that those widgets convert for some Nutra offer, right? The more money you spend with a traffic source, the more money they make, and obviously in that regard, the better a whitelist they will provide you if they have it. Then we look at the blacklist. The blacklist, a pre-selected place of placements that are proven not to convert, usually bot traffic, shitty traffic, an exclusion list. All right, so we make the assumption that we can media buy a lot better than your average affiliate. If you know that 96% of the affiliates do not make money in the initial testing phase, but in the optimization phase, then I know 100% I can make money in the testing phase. Obviously, being an 8-figure affiliate, this is not too weird, but you can do so as well. And therefore, it is unlikely that I will ever apply a whitelist, because a whitelist is sources that are proven to convert. But if I know that these people don't really know what they're doing and they're still getting conversions, I want a broader inventory. I don't want to minimize the reach. So in the situation of a whitelist, you reduce the reach, right? And in the situation of a blacklist, you keep the reach, basically. You have more opportunity to test, so you would have to spend a little bit more money. However, I assume that I know how to make money using native ads, which I have proven in dozens and dozens and dozens of videos. But it also means that I know for myself that I'm not competing with the average affiliate. I'm competing with the 0.1% at the top of the market who also know how to apply this methodology. So we do a blacklist, right? So that's it for the widgets. I asked my account manager at a specific source, so let's say MGID, for a blacklist. Then in addition to this, I would say it's a good opportunity to run the widgets as is, right? However, we apply something which is called the CPA rule. Okay, and this is my theory. So it's Colin Dijs CPA rule. Oh, CPA rule. And this will become a little difficult because basically in this scenario, we apply a widget equation per payout. So in this scenario, the cost per acquisition is the payout, which would mean that you run a break-even flow, right? If I spent $100 on a specific widget and the payout is $100, then it would be break-even. If I do not get a conversion, then I invested $100. So you have to get a stop loss, right? And in this scenario, it is at $100. So if the payout is $100, we say 1 times CPA would be $100, right? Which means 1.5 times, oh, I can type it below it, it might be a little bit easier. So this would be 1.5 times CPA and then 2 times CPA. I never really recommend, no matter how much money you have, to go beyond 2 times CPA. So let's say you have sufficient cash flow, you really want to test the widget well, apply 2 times CPA rule. So then what happens is either the widget converts and it would be break even or profitable, or it doesn't, right? So it would be profit, or I would say 1 conversion, and then it would be yes, no, kill, and this is keep running, right? It's super simple. All you have to do is buy. And what happens, because usually there's anywhere from 100 to 400 widgets, I wouldn't recommend you to run over 400 widgets. You either do not have a proper blacklist or do not have a proper whitelist. In a scenario where you have 7,000 widgets, depending on obviously what kind of exchange you run. But you can imagine if you have 40 widget, it would already cost you $4,000 with a $100 payout 1 time CPA to test everything properly, right? So in a situation where you would have, let's say, no conversions, right? No conversions, and you would have, let's say, 20x payout, you would kill the campaign anyway, even if you haven't tested everything properly, right? So that's very important. We're not going to spend $20,000 on a campaign which doesn't convert. Either you didn't put in enough effort on the initial testing of the creatives, which I will show you in a second, or very simply, it just doesn't convert for a specific reason, which is most likely due to this scenario, which is your skill to create good creatives, but let's discuss that in detail later, right? So this is the equation that you follow. If you follow this method, basically this CPA rule, there is no emotional decision making, which is great because all you're doing is following the data, which this is 100%, well, let's say 90% of the times, a huge problem for people. I don't necessarily understand why people want to adjust things on the campaign all the time. They want to make minor adjustments. Just let it run. You know, we have all pre-set up specific rules in order to use these rules to your advantage and not basically mess up the campaign by interfering the whole time. So this is the structure we follow. Yes, keep running, no. And then if you have more conversions, then a more significant CPA rule applies, but that's during the optimization phase, not the testing phase. And this is a beginner setup, let me say that. You know, obviously we have guys who spend 5, 10K, even 1K a day on native, easy. 1K a day would use this setup, 5K a day would already use a different testing procedure. So I'm assuming that most of you guys watching this want to learn how to make money with native ads, have little to no experience with native ads, and therefore I give you this testing overview so you know how to make money and test it properly, with not like a super advanced method, right? Let me grab a sip here and then we'll discuss the creatives. So on the creative side, we have the images and the headlines. Very easy, gotta keep it simple, yeah? We take 3 angles. Well, or we do 1 angle with 3 sub-angles. This is copywriting, right? And then every sub-angle we do 10 headlines. And then you need to watch the character cap, right? So on the every exchange has a character cap, so you need to keep that in mind. And we do capitalization first, well, capitalization in general. So the first letter of each word is in caps. Do not forget this. It's easier to read faster. You can read faster. It is slim, but it does read faster. You can see I've done it everywhere except here and here. In general, this is what we do. We write 10 headlines. You have 30 headlines in total. And all we do is we take 2 headlines. So out of the batch of 30, we only take 2. That's what I like to start with. And then we go with the images. So per sub angle, I like to do maybe 15 images, which means you end up with 45 images. Then usually, depending on the exchange, you can upload anywhere from 10 to 100 creatives a day, but 45 times 2 is 90 ads, right? And what I like to do is I like to give them 10,000 impressions. So I don't want to give them too many impressions. I don't want to give them too little. So sometimes 5,000 in like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, 10, 25,000 impressions, depending on what the CPM is, if you run a CPM strategy, bidding strategy, or perhaps CPC, you know? So we check the image click-through rate, the ICTR, and then we take control. So 1 to 2 ads will be the highest performance based on ICTR. In this scenario, we do not take consideration conversions. If a creative has more than 10 to 20 conversions, then it might be favorable. In the scenario where we're just testing, and we haven't grasped the optimization phase yet, we're not optimizing on conversions. We're optimizing on getting as much traffic into our flow, which basically means highest ICTR, because in that scenario, highest click-through rate. On a CPM campaign, you get the most traffic. Right, so take control, basically meaning cut 88 ads and you replace them with new variables. So in the scenario, you never test 2 things at the same time. We never test images and headlines at the same time. It's either or I'm doing images first. So for the initial batch, you have to do images and headlines, right? Because every image needs a headline. So you take 1 or 2 headlines. You could even do 1 headline, right? Then you test 45 images. We can assume that if the headline is fixed, the headline is stable, then the ICTR difference is applicable not to the headline because it's the constant, it is applicable to the image. Right? Then we take the highest images, we test anywhere from 400, 500 ads, because we use a 10K impression rule. Yes, my strategy is super labor intensive, but yes, we, which being me and my students, outcompete every single affiliate on ICTR because we put in so much effort. 400 to 500 images in a 2 to 3 day window, and thereafter we do headlines anywhere from, usually not that many, 25 to 50 headlines is enough to get the highest ICTR. If it doesn't change a second decimal for 2 days straight, then we move on to the lender optimization, which happens in optimization and not testing. So it's a lender testing basically. It happens in the optimization stage and not in the testing stage. I know this went really fast. I know you have a lot of questions. So if you enjoyed this type of video, give me a thumbs up. Basically lets me know you appreciate this type of content, and I'll be bringing out part 2. If you have any questions about this setup, this structure, comment them in the comments below, and obviously I will answer your question. If your answer is really good, I might even make a separate video on this. So this is the type of content I teach twice a week live in the Dabru platform. We have a summer promo going on right now. You can check it out in the description below. $45 for a tracking software, landing page builder, cash flow manager, a full community to engage with other affiliates, and 3 hours of live training just like this every single week. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was clear. I hope you learned something. This is how to make money with native advertising, the testing phase. I'll see you guys in the next one.